With the West Indian politician, I mean you went to big institution, and how come you can't unite 7 million? When a West Indian unity, I know it's very easy. If you go to rap to your people and tell them like which them is one race from the same place that make the same trip on the same ship. So we must push one common intention. It's for a better life in the region. For the woman and the children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean and the Caribbean and the Caribbean. They say that the Federation was imported white from England, and you're going and form a character with a true West Indian flavor. But it's that which just started running, morning, noon, and night, all I hear it's just money speech that Prime Minister's giving. But I say no set of money, vote for my unity. First of all, your people need their identity to be one race from the same place that make the same trip on the same ship. So we must push one common intention. It's for a better life in the region. For we woman, and we children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean and the Caribbean and the Caribbean. CARICOM is wasting time. The whole Caribbean gone blind. If you don't know from where you're coming, then you can't plan where you're going. That's why some want to be communist, rather some want to be socialist, and one set a religion to add to the foolishness. Look, a man who don't know his history can't form no unity. Tell me how could a man who don't know his roots form his own ideology? Like one race from the same place that make the same trip on the same ship. So we must push one common intention before a better life in the region. For we woman, and we children. That's what we the ambition of the Caribbean, the Caribbean. The Federation done dead, and Caribs are going to bed. How come the cult of the Rastafarian is spreading through the Caribbean? We have Rastas now in Grenada, we have Rastas now in St. Lucia, but to run Caribs, yes, them getting pressure. If the Rastafari movement spreading and Caribs are dying slow, then it's something them Rastas done that them politicians don't know. Look, it's one race from the same place that make the same trip on the same ship. So they pushing one common intention for a better life in the region. For the woman, and their children. That's what we do, ambition.
Yes, the Caribbean man, the Caribbean man, the Caribbean man, the Black Stallion. It's CARICOM week. Welcome to Politics 101, CARICOM Week. And we're reflecting on our Caribbean, where we've been, where we're going. Guyana is, of course, part of the wider Caribbean, part of the wider Caribbean. And so we are celebrating 50 years of our CARICOM. It's 50 years, it's a long time.
I can understand the very people who taught me. You must be from Jamaica. The very people who taught me that if at first you don't succeed, try and try again, boy. You will succeed at last. Isn't that what I said? Well, they made one attempt at federating. It didn't work. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is they made one attempt. Never tried again. Never gave a chance to see, well, if, Trinidad could keep the oil and they could keep the bauxite and things. They want the oil, and Dr. William gave them a kind of fuzzy mat according to George Bush. Fuzzy mats, 1 from 10. Federation, ladies and gentlemen. People want to know why Jamaica run from the Federation. Yes, they want to know why Jamaica run away from the Federation. Jamaica have a right to speak your mind. That is my opinion. And if you believe in democracy, you'll agree with me. But they know they didn't want federation. And they know they didn't want to unite as one. Independence was at the door. Why did they speak before? This is no time to say you are federated. Oh, oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi. When they didn't get the capital site, that nearly caused big fight. When Sir Grantley Adams took up his post, that even made things worse for them. We don't want no Bajan premier. Trinidad can be capital for here. So the grumbling went on and on to a big referendum. But if they know, they didn't want federation. And they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a big traitor. How the devil you mean you are federating no more? Yeah. Sorry, but no federation again. I think it's a big shame. After so much effort and energy put by everybody, right now it's only a memory. We failed miserably. Some may say we shouldn't help party, but the Jamaica West started. If they know, they didn't want federation. And they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor. Tell me, doctor, you're not in favor. Don't behave like a bigot.
This is no time to say you are federating no more.
Are you too? You vote against it? Well, it's your powerful. It's your powerful over there.
Federation boiled down to simply this: dog eat dog, survival of the fittest. Everybody fighting for independence, singularly.
Trinidad too, for instance. Well, we get it too, so don't bother.
But I find we should all be together, not separated as we are, because of Jamaica. If they know,
They didn't want federation.
and they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell it, doctor.
Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blasted paper.
This is no time to say you are federating no more. Outside, man.
Yes, the man himself, Slinger Francisco, the mighty Sparrow, documenting an important period in our Caribbean history. You see, between 1958 and 1962, the Caribbean countries, CARICOM countries, what we now call CARICOM countries, minus Guyana, came together and formed a federation. One Caribbean country with one government and so forth. And Jamaica pulled out. They went to a referendum and asked the Jamaican people whether they want to stay in or not. And one party was for it, the other party was not for it, and the majority voted to get out of the federation. And Dr. Eric Williams said, well, if Jamaica gone, then the thing done, because at that time Jamaica had the most healthy economy in our Caribbean. And there were 10 of them. And Dr. Williams said, 1 from 10 leaves not. So in 1962, our experiment with being one Caribbean country, after 4 years, floundered. And that is what Sparrow was documenting in that calypso there. I find that we all should be together, not singularly, because of Jamaica. We have come a long way since then, because after the breakup of the Federation, we went through the Caribbean Free Trade Area, and then in 1973, the 4 leaders, Fox Burnham of Guyana, Errol Barrow of Barbados, Dr. Eric Williams of Trinidad, and Michael Mandy of Jamaica, they're all deceased now. They signed the Treaty of Chaguaramas in 1973 and brought into being CARICOM. Not one political government, but we're round about there. We're striving to be one economy, where we trade together and move in between countries and so forth. And of course, before that, the Black Stallion, the Caribbean man, who was saying that we come on the same ship from the same place. And if we pull one common intention for our women and our children, we are going to be a better Caribbean. The dream lives on, as Dr. King would say, the dream of one Caribbean lives on, because by ourselves, we are just a little dot. Together, We are now 15 countries in CARICOM. That's 15 votes at the United Nations. We continue to be positive and to be hopeful that CARICOM would extend. So many of you are joining us tonight from Barbados or Trinidad, St. Kitts, St. Lucia. Our people are all over our Caribbean. And so therefore, at the level of the people, there is Caribbean integration. We just have not brought it together yet at the level of the leadership. Welcome to Politics 101 tonight. If you're joining us, as I said, from the wider Caribbean, welcome and good evening to you. Happy CARICOM week. And of course, if you're joining us from further afield in North America or Europe, or just across the border here in Suriname and French Guyana, welcome to Politics 101. We're going to have Dr. Henry Jeffrey on tonight. And as we come on here, all of you would have heard the news, not unexpected, that the Director of Public Prosecutions, the police sent back that file to her this morning. And by this afternoon, she sent back the file advising that there should not be any charge of rape against the Minister of Government. You all know the story that a few days ago, the young lady allegedly signed a statement advising that she does not want to continue. Some experts had argued that notwithstanding that statement, the DPP could still bring a charge against the minister. Well, we now know the DPP has not brought that charge. There we have it. It's Guyana. It's our Guyana. And, Jeffrey and I have been saying over and over again, what happened in 2020 has consequences. Regime change is not a 3-cent thing. Dr. Jeffrey's going to be on here. He always says, the PPP is not going to lose one vote as a result of this action. One vote as a result of this action. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Well, the Secretary of State of the United States is going to be visiting on the 6th. I think that is Thursday. And it's a little bit of history because it's the first time in my memory that a Caribbean country, a CARICOM country, has had a visit or 2 visits within 3 years from the Secretary of State of the United States of America. Remember Pompeo, then Secretary of State under Trump, came here immediately after the 2020 election. And now we have Secretary Blinken coming in less than 3 years. You all would know that I've mentioned over and over again that, as I can remember it, the one time I remember the Secretary of State visiting a Caribbean country was when Henry Kissinger, then Secretary of State of the United States under Gerald Ford, visited Jamaica to deliver a message from the American government to Jamaica to stop being friendly with Fidel Castro and to remove a levy that Jamaica put on its bauxite. And that was the last time I can remember Secretary of State visited Jamaica. And shortly after that, there was regime change in Jamaica, as you remember it. Michael Manley pushing back. Now our Guyana, twice in 3 years. So we're going to be talking about this development with Dharam Lal, the minister, and then we're going to be talking about that visit by the U.S. Secretary of State. But of course, we're going to start with some reflections on 50 years of CARICOM, 50 years of Caribbean integration. Let me bring in Dr. Jeffrey. Good evening, Dr. Jeffrey.
Good evening, David.
I
How are
trust.
you?
Well, I am surviving, as I always say. It's our Guyana. I so many people this afternoon as I was out there trying to pick up a few things in the market were asking me, so David, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? And I couldn't give them an answer. But let's start off, Dr. Jeffrey, by having your reflections on 50 years of CARICOM. Of course, you came on just in time to hear the mighty Sparrow critiquing the breakup of the Federation. You would have remembered the Federation. I am assuming you were a couple years my senior, so I think you would have been in high school by then. Well, I don't know. I don't know the thing, but I'm sure you would remember the Federation. Your reflections.
Well, in high school in those days, Federation is not my business. No. I got into the Federation thing much later, but in any case, you mentioned just now that look, after 4 years, the Federation broke up because there were people there who had different interests. Of course, the regime in Guyana, maybe for ideological and ethnic reasons, want nothing to do with it. And maybe the Jamaicans saw at least there could have been a presentation that their interest lies elsewhere, maybe more closer relationships with the people closer to them and all of that thing. But you know that the British has been in the European community for long. Since when? Since the 60s?
Yes,
and
in the 50s.
Brexit and they come out. I mean, maybe the time they were in there solidified the others, and they didn't cause a breakup. And I have a nasty feeling that there are a lot of people in England today who are regretting that very move. But as you also said, the people will be the feeling around that time was that regionalism was important. You had to expand your market. Although the market would only have been, even then, if everybody had come together, about 6 million people
right
at best. But you see, we had a cultural relationship. I think that must be the most important thing in all of that. We feel Caribbean when we walk. When you go to these countries, you feel that you have not left home, in Guyana, and you feel you're among the people. But the markets were very important. The question was, if you don't come around, your market would not be large enough. You can't expand. You can't reach the optimal size to make profits and so on. And the result was that we went to Carifta. What the year you mentioned there just now?
Carifta was 67.
67. Yeah, they started. The proposal was 65, and then they got.
Yes, right, 65. Yes.
Yeah, they got to in this 67, and finally we got to the common market in 1973. In the meantime, there was, I think, the most successful thing about our relationships has been the kind of functional relationships. But there have been, some of them have been there, like cricket and the Western UW had been there long before even certainly before the Federation.
Right. Cricket was 1928, UW 1947.
Yes. cricket was there since the 19th century, the
Yeah.
West, so, and so those things have demonstrated to, at least to me, that functional cooperation has its place. And since the CARICOM came into being, we have had good, efforts to have movement of people, to have cross-border insurance for workers, and all of those things. So I am quite, as I said, for me, it's the cultural relation that's paramount. Globalization came into being. I know that Forbes Bonner made up this statement up there when they were going to do the come together in the community, but about unity and all of that. And I have a feeling that when he was talking about it's impossible to survive without that kind of a unity. Most of the time, at that time, people, vision was in terms of the economics, but then came globalization. And globalization meant essentially that if you're really going to survive, nobody is going to use tariffs and all of that thing to keep your products afloat. Your companies will have to meet world standards to survive. And as a result of which, it became the community, from an economic standpoint, becomes something of a training ground for our companies in the region to get to that world standard, to get somewhere. And I think it is doing that job. You have to get to a certain standard. We have Guyana as benefit from the sugar tariffs and all that, rice tariffs. Sometimes when people tell me about, we're in CARICOM, I said, CARICOM has been buying your rice at all sorts and sugar at all sorts of prices. I suppose if they go on the market, you are producing sugar at something like nearly, what are we producing sugar at 18 to 15, 17, 18, maybe.
We are producing at 40 cents a pound.
You can't produce. No, David, don't let me go. You can't be a 40 cents a pound. You must be somewhere about 21, 22 cents. But the people in places like Sudan, they're producing sugar at 10, 11 cents. So really, if you go on the world market, nobody has to buy our sugar, and therefore they carry the thing. One of the times I'm sitting in a meeting with, we were in a PNC meeting, a PNC executive meeting. And I think it was Sharat Mutu. I don't know if you ever know him.
Yeah,
and
Joshua Sharat Mutu, yes.
Yes. He came up and he said, you want to suspend the agenda. Let's suspend the agenda of this meeting because it appears that the Jamaican intended to take the U.S. 480 rice.
Yeah, 480 rice, yes.
Yeah. And that would make problems for Guyana. Well, I was not, I just came into this thing. I was not even at the meeting officially. Barnum tell me must go, and I went. And then I work at National Development, and you go. And it was, he says this, and I said, well, not I said, the agenda was, as it was postponed, and they start talking about rice. And it's amazing. I became Minister of Trade, and I'm sitting at the meeting, and the service raised again, umpteen years after, about American PL for it rice. And I had to say, who was it? Golden. I said, how long this thing was around? I was a small chap for 30 years, 20, sitting in a meeting, and this is what they're talking about. And we still talking about for US using the subsidies, because America subsidizes the farmers and then use potato rice to come and try to undermine our processes. The door round, of course, in terms of trade relations, was intended to get rid of all that. It broke down. It broke down. But even so, what is globalization has not broken down. And globalization means, as I said, if you have a company, you have to meet world standards to survive. And the CARICOM is supposed to be sometimes kind of a training ground for you to get there. You ain't going to get there with 800,000 people or 200,000 people. Haiti might have been able to make a shake, but look, the turmoil, maybe that's one of the failures of CARICOM, Haiti. You see the turmoil that's there now. I don't want to get into that, but I think that essentially we should have focus more on what's taking place there. Use leverages with we have, as you said, we have 15 members. We got United Nations Cloud for all sort of a thing, and therefore we should perhaps use that better to try and help our people rather than, open borders. And then when they come, you want to chase them away and all of that nonsense. So I have had this, I like the cultural aspects of it. I think that it is good to be with a body of people that you feel are your family, and I like it. I think it's still relevant for for economic reasons. We have had functional cooperation, not only in cricket, but in education and all of that. We have the CXC, stealing the papers here and there, but never mind. That will occur. It happens all over the place. But those things, for me, means that, yes, there have been success. Maybe not in the vision of Forbes Burnham and those kind of people, but at that time, but certainly there has been successes, and there is a place for CARICOM CARICOM in our contemporary vision as we go forward.
As we go forward, Dr. Henry Jeffrey here tonight. Please share the link. Politics 101 is on tonight. We come on air as the news breaks that the Director of Public Prosecution has sent back the file within a day, less than a day, to the police, advising the police not to go forward with rape charges or charge against the Minister of Local Government. Breaking news. Dr. Jeffrey, you were here two weeks ago. I think the story had just broken. We are at this point now. Your reflections on those developments around this case, and what are the lessons we are learning?
Well, David, I mean, I think my position. You stated already. The Ghana Human Rights Association, in their comments on this issue, made the case that this kind of result, which they expected because it didn't happen yet, was expected by everybody. I mean, nobody expected anything to happen to you can go on the road and scream as much as you like. Politicians don't respond to screaming and go and, the girl is wrong, or the boy is wrong, or whosoever. They don't respond to that. Politicians must be able to have a system that hold politicians accountable. There is no, you mentioned it, there is no united public opinion in Guyana. Please, you said it. No united public opinion in Guyana. The PPP It's like almost Donald Trump saying, I got 40%, I have support, and it's about 40%. He has to, of the Republican and so on. And I can go and shoot somebody in Times Square and get off with it. He said it. So I am not surprised the PVP and has got a bother about you. And now, given that election manipulation has become entrenched, now they ain't got bother with you at all, because they can make up for that 10%. Indeed, they want now a new house to house, although the CARICOM people, we are talking about CARICOM today, but the CARICOM that did the recount said at the very least, electoral reform must have a new house-to-house registration. Where is CARICOM? That's where you must now focus. Ask them where they are with this. They don't want any house-to-house registration. Where is CARICOM? Today is CARICOM 50th anniversary. They brought a recon group. They were very thing in the recon. The recon group said something. They said, oh, the recon group did not get the information about all the irregularities. All right, that's gone. I don't like basing it apart. But the recon group said that you must have a house-to-house registration. Where is CARICOM? Where are all these people? The opposition said they want a new list. From far that I remember, they also said they want biometrics. Well, what's wrong with this if you are above board? If you are running a ship above board, where are you? What's wrong with it? This is not a big thing. You want free and fair elections? Well, let's go for it. Let's go and have this. But no, the regime doesn't want all of that. I hope Mr. Blinken, when he lands here, would speak to them about those issues. He has other issues to speak to them, and of course, of maximum importance. But the point is that how can you stand up to the Guyanese people said, oh, the European Union said that the continuous registration thing is flawed. So where are we going? The European Union said it is not working. They showed about nearly a third or quarter. So the people had to change them. After all this continuous registration, there are so many people on the ground still are in wrong places and all sorts of things. How it's working? The continuous registration is flawed. But it is not important whether or not it's flawed or not. I am saying they have looked at it. They got a technology. There's not Henry Jeffrey speaking off the hat or on the side of Garfield. There's both institutions that came and said elections were free and fair said the following must occur. Where is it? I wrote an article them at that time and I said a ding-dong struggle will have to take place for those things to happen. Because we know what's happening in Guyana. People are not going to want it. They're not going to want it. And they're going to have to be a ding-dong struggle for you to get what any person that's open and fair should want to get. I am not saying I don't know competitive politics, and man, gerrymandering started in the US, didn't it? I mean, yes. So politicians always play these games. I'm not saying, and this is not. But you see, this is a different situation. This is two ethnic groups with 40%. And they have been in continuous political struggle for power. Continuous. With one or the other saying the other is racist. And once you have that situation on the ground, you have a tinderbox. You have to deal with it. But there is no public opinion out there. Now, you ask about this, and I expect that what's happening in that, the minister's case, to be what's happening. But the Amerindians are there with 11% of this vote. And they are hurting with this. Regardless of not if they're in the PPP or PNC, the PPP will have a problem. It will have a problem. It has one, no. If you mobilize and do things properly. You have to mobilize and do things properly, and the PPP would be in serious problems because the PPP depends on those Aboriginal votes. And by the way, the minister is the local government. He's the man that knows what's happening in the areas more than you and I and everybody else. During the last elections, people were saying a person wrote from Barbados saying he left there when he left Guyana when he was 12. How his name on the list to vote? 12 or some age like that. So what's happening in that region, in those interior area, needs serious looking at. He wrote it. Another one says, we turn up at the poll and they're saying we can't vote and nobody of our people make noise. Well, you're going to make noise if you weren't supposed to vote. If you actually were supposed to vote and people stop you, people have made noise. But if you are there voting 2 or 3 times and the people deal with you, you can't make noise. And he was complaining. He was saying to the PPP, you must make noise. How are you going to make noise? The people that are removed, people are saying it's better you go away quietly before you get in lockup or something. So effectively, from my standpoint, what's happened there has happened. Guyana does not have a united public opinion. As you said, people lost 1 vote among their supporters, their key traditional supporters. Because for the as I said in the article, it's not because they're not, in a sense, supportive of you and recognize that what's happening and all this is wrong, but they fear the PNC even more. That's the problem. They see the PNC as the greater danger. Just as you sit here and see the PPP as the greater danger. So effectively, you have to do something. And as one theory says, there's only one thing to do. There's no option. You have to sit at the table together and manage this place because there is no public opinion to do it for you. And elections manipulation becomes more important when people are struggling for this kind of power. So David, that's my position on this issue. Not really the minister as such.
Right.
I expected this kind of outcome. I think most of us expected this kind of outcome. And therefore, I actually believed you got to organize to deal with it. And this is not a one-sided thing. It's Guyana.
It's Guyana. Dr. Henry Jeffrey weighing in on the news that the DPP has advised the police to discontinue the investigations and not to charge the minister with rape. And as you noticed, Dr. Jeffrey went quickly to the structure of our society, the political implications. He didn't spend much time, as I've been trying to do on this program, not much time on the minister and the charges, but what is it telling us about our politics? And it's really saying that we are up against it. The society is as divided. The people who have come out and have been rallying and protesting. There have been some Amerindian organizations, but mostly it's been African Guyanese and the PNC and other opposition parties. Note. You see, the East Indian organizations have not come on the road. There were a couple of voices in the newspapers, but nothing substantial. We don't have a single public opinion. So even something as horrendous, I refuse to believe that Indian people are not outraged by what happened. I'm sure they are. They're human beings. They got children. They got daughters. They're outraged. But they are not going to move politically. And I think that is the lesson that Dr. Jeffrey is trying to get us to understand here, right? They are not going to move politically against the PPP. And we have been trying to say that over and over again, and to get our supporters here on this program to get an understanding of where our politics are. Ultimately, there will have to be a political solution, as Dr. Jeffrey has said. And to get that political solution, to get the other side, to get the PPP to come to the table to deal with these fundamental issues, it takes a struggle. It takes a movement. And we've got to realize that. Often some of you would say, oh, well, Dr. Hines, gosh, when you lay out the reality, gosh, it makes us want to pack up and just go home. No, I don't want you to pack up and go home. What we are trying to say to you is that this is a real struggle. The system that you may have in your radar, that is a political system that has checks and balances and fairness, and the system works and so on and so forth. No. If the PPP knew that they would have lost, or 10% of their support base would have reacted negatively against this thing, that man would have been charged long ago. The fact of the matter is that they are not. Dr. Jeffrey asked, where is CARICOM? And I would like to ask him now, where is the United States? And he mentioned that Mr. Blinken is going to visit. The Secretary of State is very powerful. After the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, the Secretary of State is 49 in the United States. It's a very important office. And as I said, the Secretary of State visited Guyana a few weeks after the 2020 election. That same Secretary of State himself was very pivotal in putting sanctions against the APNU even before the elections were announced. And he came a couple of weeks after the election. We still don't know about some of the arrangements that were made. You're now hearing coming out of the book that is written and that the contents has been circulating in the newspapers by Mr. Raphael Trotman. You're now hearing of things. People are now, who are in the corridors of power, are now saying, the Americans approach the then coalition government for some arrangements as it relates to Venezuela. And apparently the coalition government did not play ball. Anyhow, Jeffrey, Blinken is coming. What is the significance? We knew why Pompeo came. Why is Blinken coming?
You knew why Pompeo came? Tell me.
Well, he was involved in the elections. He was involved, and he showed his hand before the elections. So clearly, one can surmise that he came to get his share of whatever the outcomes were.
Okay. Regime change. The first thing you learn, regime change 101.
Yes.
What is the first principle of regime change is contact the opposition. You know that. I mean, the first principle of regime change is
Contact the opposition.
call the opposition, the better of the opposition.
Yes.
So if you want to change the Ghana regime, you call the opposition. And effectively, if you look at the progress of what took place, you can see something of that nature. Charandas do what he did, the Canadians running about and carrying him out and all that. You can see the process. The question isn't whether or not there was regime change in Guyana. I mean, there's always regime change in Guyana. If Carter come and tell you something, and there's a regime change. So effectively, the question is why regime change at this point of time? I have my own view, but I wouldn't state it publicly because it's a view. So that doesn't surprise me in the least that you've had regime change. They talk about Venezuela, America. How many bases America got in South America? What, 30?
Yeah. Perhaps more than that.
Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
With Guyana, I mean, I don't buy it. If Guyana ask America got satellite, we can do all these things that they're going to come out. If America, you will, let me say it might well be something that I don't know about, and it might well be thing, but I am telling you, I'm not convinced by that talk about you want to put radio. Who wants to put radio anyway? You can get radio. Americans can put something and maybe know what's in your pocket right now. What are we talking about? So effectively, I am not buying that. I think that there are other things, that there are more important things. And in any case, how long the government had to run? Not about 2 years, maybe even 18 months if you said about a call election. Why come there and force them out before they can go into an election? Why? Why spend all the resource to get them out before they can get to the election? You ever think about that? I mean, all these things go through my mind.
Right.
I mean, I said, hey, these people got 3 more years or 2 more years. If they're not going to give you something, I see that this new regime give them anything. Mm-hmm. If that was the idea, why this? And you had to get me out with such urgency for some base or something, whatever you wanted. At least I see this they got a new regime in place. It can give them up to now. That I don't mean that they had alternative that they could have used, and they had already gone before this new regime came, because the quarrel took nearly 2 years, not or so on.
Yes, right.
So this thing they are talking, they seem like not very America, too powerful and has too many alternatives to make that a big issue. Anyway. So Mr. Blinken is coming, and he's in the region, and he's dropping in to speak to. They are all now his pals. You didn't see what the president. They're the most strategic and all sort of thing he said today. Our most strategic and something friends. You wouldn't have think so about 2 years ago. Would you? You would have thought the Chinese and everybody else was the strategic. So no, yeah, that. But again, I said, I'm not here to jump to I'm not jumping to any conclusion. I'm saying that 2 years ago, you would have heard about the most valued strategic partner and all those sort of a thing. Well, all right. So my most strategic valued partner is coming. And this same strategic valued partner, the minute you get into power in 2020, told you to change the system you have. On a 2020 Human Rights Report from the State Department, it said change the system from this winner-take-all story you have in there. It's not working. It has not been working for all these years. Change it. and try and put in place an inclusive democracy. Well, I don't know how, I can't see my close and strategic partner coming, who said this to me the first day I got in office. And we ain't got a gaffe about that. We can talk about a whole lot of other things. But that was in the strategic partner, or else the strategic partner itself might have to answer questions about. So when a strategic partner get there, I think there must be discourses about governance. And the local government election was for the PPP. Now, this is me going off the rail with my imagination. This is not, I have no information to this effect. But the local government election was for the PPP. It said, we have control of the African areas. So we are a multi-racial party in Guyana. But unfortunately, that did not happen. People told them it's not going to happen. The strategic partner told them it's not going to happen. So the strategic partner come to laugh at them. They do everything. They do the most undemocratic thing. They try to buy people on the streets. They make you wear red jersey, like if you're Jews in Nazi Germany, where they used to put the Jews had to wear white stars to them, and they used to pay millions not to have to wear the white star. Largely because people know you are Jews. Once you wear white star, people know you are Jews. That could break up communities, break up families. They went to the extreme and nobody tell them anything, and they did not succeed. PPP don't want no local government election. They've been in power 21 years. They want any local government election. No, it's not important. Stabic News in an editorial last Sunday said they want to control everything. So what they want with local government election? The local government election was intended to send a message to their strategic partner that they now control black people. So how are you going to tell us about anything about get rid of a winner-take-all system? That's my summation. And so now the strategic partner coming to talk about the environment and all of that. That's fine. Those are important issues. But Guyana has been on this pathway for so long, this disastrous pathway for so long. The strategic partner must know, because he got an institutional memory much longer than Guyana. He got many more, maybe brighter people working on this issue. And therefore, I don't see, he's coming here and going to just not ask. Well, you ain't going to say anything because you have COVID-19 not proving your point with the election. You might have to go hide somewhere. But the point is, the people who do it might have to go hide somewhere. But the point is, there must be a discourse. The great, I say this because although you have Americans and they are making these statements, you're not getting anything from the opposition here.
Right.
They seem to be wanting to do precisely what the PPP did. They seem to want the same system maintained, only they must be in control. And I object to that. I object to that. This country belongs to all of us. No ethnic group got a right to control it, so far as I'm concerned. The situation is such that you must change the winner-takes-all political system. I am not, when I talk against the PPP because of the nonsense they're doing, I'm not here to be no representative of a one ethnic nothing. Guyana belongs to all of us, every one of us. And we must be at the table. The Amerindians, 10% is sufficient, 11% sufficient to sit there and help make the decisions. What happened to them would never have gotten through if the Amerindian was sitting at the table. Could not. Another saying what's going on in Ghana. And I've been saying to the Amerindians for the longest while, since it's my first article in 2010 or something, I said, you have to be calm. a group for yourself. You can't be a group just in yourself. You are a group, but you're broken up all over the place. You got to come a group for yourself. How you explicate that in the society is for you to determine, but you got to become a group for yourself. You can't go make the PVP use you or the PNC use you. You got to go out there. This Guyana, it belongs to everyone. You are 10%, that's sufficient. Indeed, you can hold the balance. Who was this in Price in St. Lucia or one of those islands?
In Belize.
With one seat, he become private.
You mean, yes. What's his name? In St. Vincent.
In St. Vincent? No, I'm saying to you, you got 10% of people out there. If they can get their act together, this should never happen. Things like that should. Well, if it happens, because you can't stop things, you can't stop the fire, man. But you can be in a position to say what should happen before that occurred, so that it should not happen. And the country and just sit down. All of us in Ghana just sitting down all the time thinking about politics. The politicians don't do nothing else about killing how they don't get to return to power. So even the management, they come out and do all these things about management. Look, the Americans even got quarrel about. And Janet Bolkan, that is, even said that they stole the people land rights and sell it, the environment from the environment. I mean, where are we going? The Americans got so many things that they should be concerned of: fire, rape, your land gone. I mean, what's going on? There are Africans, of course, has land problem with the PPP too. I know normally visit and frequent a place at Plaisance there. And they give the people, look at the people that have been there for 20 years, some of them, trying to make a living for themselves. Many Africans, 7 days to pack up and go, they got a road. After much protest, the vice president says a bureaucratic mistake. These people were terrible. But guess what? The same government did surveys on land that these people say they have, and at least its neighboring they show that they have interest in, without even inform them, and then send something for them to sign. Of course, they are signing. We have to understand what the PPPs are. It wants domination. It wants ethnic dominance. It has got the Indians in its pocket, and he wants all of us in its pocket. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You don't have a soldier and army force of more than 5,000 people and let what happened, Manripo, happen. It's you should go. How you gonna make some thugs come and attack your people when you got 5,000 soldiers and army bus? And you know they were coming. It's not that they just come out in the night. You know they were coming down that road. Oh, you got soldiers and army that you got all your friends in and all sorts of places, and you allow that to happen. You can't even. I can't put that to even incompetence. Because if you're incompetent, you don't line up all the soldiers and army and them thugs to take another road. The truth is that they know. Then the next day they know, they shout, these are black people who are thugs, who are terribly and murderous, and Indian people sit up and they say must be true. Not all Indian people, so it's nonsense. But not so them know it's nonsense. But the point is, and then they come next day and they give you a couple $1,000 and they say, look, we are looking after you. We look up. That is what Guyana is. It's a manipulation of ethnic sentiments. And it can't go on like that. if we want to live in a peaceful and progressive country. Now that the oil come, the situation get worse. Anyway, that's my take, David.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here reflecting on the political developments, anticipating the Secretary of State of the United States of America coming here on Thursday. And Jeffrey, of course, as nimble as ever, pointing out that the president said, oh, the United States is our wonderful friend, strategic partner, but your strategic partner tell you you're playing with trouble. You're playing with trouble. And I think that point about the local government election is well taken. And as you all know, I try as much as possible to give you all the big picture. An election is not always just an election. An election can be the occasion for something bigger than the election. And that logic that Jeffrey pointed out here, that your strategic partner tell you that look, you got to share this power, you got to share the economic pie because you don't control half the population. And your strategic partners come in. Obviously, you wanted to show them that you control more than half the population. Hence your big splash on a little election. Your big splash on a little election, all the billions of dollars that you spent. It makes sense. And it should not be lost on us that the Madam Ambassador, she's leaving. She said the local government elections were free and fair. These elections, those elections were more than election. And that's the point we want you all to take away from these things. Sometimes we get too caught up in the election and who win the election and who lose the election and so forth. And I don't mind you all getting into that. That's normal. Somebody got to win and lose an election at the party level and so on. But, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And that's the message we want to drive home here. These things have larger significance. Larger significance. Dr. Jeffrey says that if the Amerindians were at the table, as Amerindians, nothing like what happened there with Daniel Lal would have been allowed to happen. I mean, one of the things about ethnic and cultural groups is they rise up when there's a threat to the honor of the group. And that this whole story is a threat to the honor of Amerindians. So, as we have been saying here over and over again, these things are bigger than the issues that we are engaged in. I notice a lot of you have been saying there should be big protests in the country now that Dharam Lal has gotten off and so on and so. Dr. Jeffrey, should there be big protests?
Well, yes. I mean, I have not. It would appear that it is still possible for people to bring, from the little I've been hearing, possible for people to bring issues to the court to allow the trial to continue. I don't know all of that. But even so, this matter is a political matter. It is a political matter. If this matter was really going to hurt the PPP, the first thing they would have gone and said, hey man, hey, what's going to happen? You know, we have friends still and so on. Go and sit down somewhere. Let me move this thing. Let me move all this investigation away from all this government department, because it's going to still look like the minister's in charge and the minister is going to operate in your interest. And therefore, regardless of what happened, when the minister is in charge of something so close, they're going to say so. Therefore, for a long story, if we want this thing open and fair, and if to be seen to be fair, it mustn't just be open and fair. And then you're going to say, well, it is possible for a minister to be objective. Well, nobody going to buy that. They want to see it to be fair. They want to see their people around, people that they have confidence in. And they come up with these things, all going to be well. But the minute you believe that all it takes is to take your man, put him in some committee, the people is in your central executive, and you put them in as chairman of some judicial service or whatsoever service committee, and say, oh, they're objective. Of course they're objective, but they're objective in terms of you.
Yes.
I mean, why you think they quarrel about judges in the U.S., the ones that are going to call? Because the judges, the judge got an ideology. And therefore you put the ideology. The judge can be very objective, but it's an objectiveness that's based on his ideology. And that's what we want. So you can't put one man, your central executive, as chairman of some board and tell me he's objective. Of course he's going to be objective. His objective is based in your interest. You know? So in any case, David, that's what we have.
That's what we are. And we'll have to leave it there. We are well past our time. Dr. Jeffrey, thanks as usual for coming on and opening up these issues and leaving us with some more than some food for thought, but really expanding our horizons as far as these developing issues are concerned. Thank you very much. And thank you, our viewers. Tomorrow night we come back and we will continue our discourse on these issues and other developing issues. Tomorrow night we are most likely going to have the people from Plaisance on. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you all tomorrow night.